Goran, great to speak with you again.
Hi, good to see you.
I still have not seen Happy Together. So I just I want to know, growing up when you were watching those, I was reading this variety piece, when you were watching 400 films a year, maybe borrowing stuff from your library, how important was Wong Kar-wai's films for you at that age, or maybe you grew into him later?
Well, I was a bit of both, to be honest, because the way I experienced his films when I was like 15, 16 was different. I think I liked him. And then at 19, 20, I loved him. And then at 25, he broke me. And at 35, it's just like, it's what life is, it's what love is, it's what cinema is. So to me, it's also the sense of and I saw Happy Together before I even knew of myself as gay, and I only remember now how turned on I was, but that's a whole other part of the interview. No, it was also honestly watching it, but not even thinking, because this boring, like deep denial, not even thinking of it as a queer story, because I was just like transfixed. I was like super in love with like Charlie Lou, like halfway through, whether or not I acknowledged it to myself. But like it was also just following the story, and I really cherish stories that would take me somewhere far away from where I was. And I felt like feelings were like a lot more important, in a Wonka rifle. It was only gradually that I realized, feelings in real life was just as important. And I think it almost like taught me about that. So yeah, I mean, he's one of many filmmakers I love. Like, there's a lot of our reference in there as well. There's secretly hiddenly in the posters and some of the song choices. But yeah, no, Wong Kar-wai, I mean, it remains very important to me.
Can you talk about your decision to edit the film? Because it seems like such a monumental challenge, because the first half is very breakneck, very quick, and it's just very tense. But then throughout the movie, you're just really changing the pace. What were you the only one to edit this movie? Meaning it was because it was so close to you, or what was the decision behind that?
I've edited most of my short films. I made 25 or like 23. I edited myself. So that's how I look to make movies. And to me, like, directing is shaping the emotional through line for the viewer. And I genuinely just don't know how to do that without editing. Like, even just picking takes and like the foundation of like once as soon as you start building into the first version of the edit, there's decisions you get stuck in without even realizing it. And I feel like unless that comes from my feeling, like so much can go wrong. And I think also I just had to teach myself to edit in a way that was like, you can't be overconnected. You can't have babies. Like in Both You Won't Be Alone and in of an Age, I deleted my favorite scene, or most of my favorite scene, because not that it wasn't working. It's just that along the way there was some emotional weight accumulated through other moments that I didn't anticipate. That I didn't need that part, and like I've taught myself to edit like an editor, not like a director who's self-absorbed. I feel like I'm very self-critical as well. So, and it's also like these are skill sets I've had to learn by myself, because no one's going to give me an opportunity to like, I didn't know anyone in the industry. I'm definitely not related to anyone in the industry. So I had to like learn how to make films on a DIY level where I had to do everything. And then I think that like also shaped my aesthetic and my emotional connection to the viewer. When You Won't Be Alone, like there was no chance anyone was going to give a first-time director the opportunity to also edit their work. So I never, really pursued it. But like, let me assure you, every single frame and cut in that film stems from what I needed, what I wanted in that moment. And having worked on that film, and my producer got a sense of how I work as well. And I love the editor I worked with as well, Luca, and you won't be alone. But like
Yeah.
Christina, who would never usually let a director editor work, realize that I do have the capability. And I've edited my third feature now as well, and it's a different producer and a different distributor, but they're great. Oh, well, not distributor, different style agent, but they're also very happy with it. I feel like if you can build up the skills there's something so precious, because there's just no filter, and like you can work on pure feeling in a way, and like this decisions you get to make really quickly, which by the time you verbalize it, you lose it sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can you talk about the idea with Of an Age? We were talking about Wong Kar-wai films, how maybe I think at 25 it broke you because maybe it comes from a real emotional place. Can you talk about crafting your story and making it real and emotional, but not making it operatic and saccharine or too sugary. You kept everything real, and I think that's what makes your film so heartbreaking. Was that a hard sacrifice for you, or was it very easy to make it true for you?
It's kind of the main operating principle in my head. Even when like there was a scene that actually we had to shoot twice. It's a key scene towards the end, and I found it wasn't quite. I mean, the first time we shot it, it was fine, but there was something wrong, and I realized it was in the writing. There were false lines of dialogue that were clearly written that would work in a piece of prose, maybe, or maybe a poem would be too far. It wasn't very poetic language, but like
Yeah.
it was, it felt like a monologue that was being delivered. And poor Elias, I made him do the damn monologue all over again, and I just took out a few lines, and suddenly there wasn't a problem. There wasn't a blip,
Wow.
and because I realized I have to work on a place where I believe this is like day to day life. I think the operatic stylized way of filmmaking is something I admire, and I feel I would love to I'd be able to achieve it one day. I'm not sure if you can show that. But genuinely speaking, like someone was asking me, how did you decide to, light the sex scene in a way that wasn't prurient or exploitative? I'm just like, oh, we barely even think about it because me and Maddie C, the cinematographer, always work off the principle of either natural available light and shaping it through camera angles or trying to mimic it completely natural light. And like having that as a base, it's also possible to shoot very fast, and you have to when you're on a low budget. But it's possible to shoot very fast if you're operating out of something that needs to feel true and real in the moment, and comes from something that feels like lived in reality. I think something stylized takes a lot more time,
Yeah.
which is a luxury. Hopefully, I might have one day. I don't know if I will pursue it specifically, but I do love that kind of filmmaking too. But genuinely speaking, to me, that's the only foundation that I know confidently I can deliver a story that can connect with someone at the end.
Goran, with these two films, wonderful films, and then I was reading you've completed your third film. I'm assuming you're very obsessed with cinema. So my final question to you is, can you name one specific movie that when you have free time with, you will just watch over and over again, and you're just really obsessed with it? Either it could be on a cinematic level or just like you're an instinctive emotional level, like of an age. What's that movie that gets you really
All
obsessed?
right. Oh my God, there's so many, Greg.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I will say when I was growing up, it sounds like such a film snob thing, but and I don't even I pronounce the title badly, but it's a French film called L'Atalante or L'Atalante from the 1930s.
Vigo,
Uh,
right?
that's my favorite film. And I remember that like I would watch it, and I don't even know. I taped it off like a late night channel, like from TV when I was like 14, because I'd seen it on this. And this was at a time when I couldn't really usually connect with like slow paced cinema or anything that esoteric. But that was this one film where I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I was just enthralled all the way through, and I couldn't even explain why or describe why. And if I started watching a clip, I would end up watching all of it all the way through because I was just lost in it every single time. So I think that one. And coincidentally, I was doing a promo screening in San Francisco 2 days ago in this Art Deco beautiful theater called the Venue Theater, and they had a poster next to the door going, "Coming soon, what's along there?" I was like, "Excuse me." They were playing it like the next week, which like the coincidence of it's not a film you see in your diet very often or you hear about.
Uh,
I was like, I made my husband take a photo with me next to the poster. Like, I never posed for a photo willingly, but I was like, no, 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 this is America.
Thank you so much for your film and for your work, and really love this film. And I guess I'll interview you next year, and looking forward to
Hopefully later this year. Hang on, it's almost finished.
it. All right, take care.